I love one woman, but I adore 11 men.
So,
talk to you, is it?
Huh?
Talk to you.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
talk to the camera. You can't look at that thing at all.
Can't you?
No. Going back in time a small bit now, can you tell me something about your earliest memories of Cork City?
I think the very first memory, the first game I ever attended was in 1986. It was the cup game against Derry City. My dad took myself and my younger brother. I suppose I would have been 14 or so at the time. My brother would have been about 11, and my dad took us along to the lodge. The biggest disappointment from that day was the fact that my dad made us leave 5 minutes to go. We missed the goal.
First games for me was late 80s, about 88, 89. I went to one alright in 85 with the brother, like when he came back from England, but I just couldn't grasp into it at that time. I was only 13, 14, doing other things. It was a game against Shamrock Rovers in 98, 99 season, I think. I think it was that anyway. Rovers beat us. But I didn't really get into Cork City since, I got into Cork City around 93, 94. But I kind of fell out again for a year or two, and then I went back into it in 96.
1986 down Flower Lodge, we were playing the semi-final cup. Oh no, it was quarter-final, because we were beating the semi-final by Shamrock Rovers, as far as I can remember. And I remember my cousins, they're from up north, when they called to our house at 7:30 that morning, beating down the door, looking for their breakfast. So we all headed out to the game anyway, and we won 1-0 down Flower Lodge. That would be 86, 20 years ago, long time ago.
So I remember going back down and out to the lodge. It was the first year probably now, and the miserable cold weather, and the clubhouse behind the goal at the end of it open there, and the rads were on, so we went in there. The boots came off, the legs up against the old rad there, and all of a sudden it was some old fella from the AOH or something, I presume, out there, and get out of that. So you were forced to watch the football, like, but then so you learned to love it in that way, like, as earliest memory anyway of it.
Very vague early memories, to be honest. Started going when Gareth Cronin came back from England, and my mum was teaching him at the time, so just started wandering along to the odd game or two, and we used to stand down the corner where the corner boys are, or where the corner boys were, and then after that started wandered into the shed, and that was it. Like, once I got into the shed I was hooked, there was no keeping away from the place.
I remember the first time I heard the song "The Fields of Bishopstown," which I thought was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. Now obviously when you hear it for the 100th time it loses its power, but you know, for the first time for someone who'd never been to a City match before, it was a pretty powerful moment. I remember ringing loads of people and saying, they sing this song low live "The Fields of Bishopstown," and I was trying to remember the words. And
the first game would have been sometime in '84, but I haven't a clue who they were playing. I think I went around, it was around Christmas '84, and I mean, I'd been to like Celtic and Hibs games with my dad, and it was Cork United then, or no, it was Albert Rovers for a while, and then Cork United. But I think I was too young to care about the football. It was all about the, you know, the crisps and the bottle of Tanora and stuff. But I remember the first time I went down, I was just couldn't believe how bad it was. The football was shocking because, as you know, there was like a gap of a few years, and you kind of have to acclimatise yourself to League of Ireland football.
I've got vague memories of being out in the lodge, but Turner's Cross, been out there on a Sunday afternoon, piss and rain, about 30 people standing in the shade. It was just brilliant.
The first game I was ever in Turner's Cross was in the shed, like, and I'd been to stadiums around the place, loads of times, because I came from a GA family, but it was my first time in Turner's Cross, and I was 16 years old, 92, 16 years old. I was blown away simply by the atmosphere.
I followed League of Ireland no matter how bad the club was, like, in Cork, you know, and there were some bad teams there, like. I mean, Turner's Cross today now, for me, I can remember going out there one time, and I remember there was a lot of blocks brought out. We're going to build, well, there's only 4 standards now, right? Someone said we're going to build a standard. Don't ask me what year it was, right? So these blocks came in and they were left there. And you know what we were using for that season? To stand on so we could have a better view. The stand never materialised, like. It never happened, and one by one then the blocks disappeared.
Supporting the city. It was very small for them before they became Cork City themselves. Cork Celtic.
Going back a long time,
long time before the only force that was even built. It was a big bank of work over there.
How long have you been following Cork City?
7, I think.
7 years?
Yeah.
And who's your favourite player?
Here, good English.
Who's your favourite player?
No, I don't know, honestly.
Bishopstown, what are your memories of the Bishopstown era?
I hated the place, absolutely hated the place with a vengeance. Because for me, I lived in Parklands, and you hop on the number 3 bus in Parklands and you arrive outside Turner's Cross, so it was handy. Like, at the time, obviously, like, I was a student and stuff, you know, obviously didn't have a car. For Bishopstown then, but moving on, it was kind of like, it was such a hassle to get there for me, like, personally, and it was like, it really was no man's land at the time. It probably still is even now, like, even though you have the Greyhound track and stuff out there, but it really was very inaccessible at the time.
Some people say that it was a vision of Pat Donovan's that was like 10 years too early. When you look at the infrastructure out the west side of the city now, what are your thoughts on it?
It's like the visions, there was quite a lot of mushrooms out there in them days, alright, wasn't there? They ruined a very good mushroom plant.
Well, Bishopstown, I'm actually from Bishopstown, so Bishopstown's dead handy for me, but I hated it, needless to say. It was just wrong. It was just wrong. I think no matter what way you dress it up, I mean, the spiritual home of Cork soccer is Turner's Cross. And I mean, like my very first game was a Cork Celtic game at Turner's Cross, and like, you know, if I bring my kid to a game, I want it to be at Turner's Cross. And the whole like, let's move out to a greenfield site to build a stadium thing has reared its head again, and I just think it's a load of bollocks, to be honest, because it's just not going to work.
When you look at it now, like you're driving in out that Link Road and you're looking, you see one stand and a beautiful green baize, and you see the lads training, and you're saying, that's home. Because no matter what people say, Turner's Cross is too small for us, because we are the biggest support club in the country. This is a thing that has to be cashed in on by the people in the club. We are the biggest supported club in the country. We have massive potential. We are the one team in the city. We deserve a ground that's bigger than 7,000 or 8,000 seats. You know, so Bishopstown, the potential for Bishopstown is massive. But the thing to remember is that Bishopstown came 12 years too soon for what we have now.
I couldn't really understand it, to be honest. You know, it just seemed like a bridge too far. But when you look out there now and you see the infrastructure that's built up around it, and you see how well the Greyhound track's doing on pretty much the same plot of ground, you have to kind of ask yourself, was it just that bit ahead of its time? Even if you look at the amount of people that are living out that direction now, there's a huge crowd out there that maybe Turner's Cross isn't tapping into. But yeah, maybe it was a few years too early, to be honest, like, for us. But
you know, even people who say it was ahead of its time and that it was just never going to work. It was just never going to work. It doesn't have the. We get it. It's a hard thing to describe, right? But we get it with venues. Like, we go all over the world, and you can't build the perfect venue because each venue has like a magic of its own, and the place could be. I mean, Sir Henry's was a brilliant venue, and there was like slime pouring down the walls. It was like, you know, it was filthy and dirty and sweaty and damp and everything, and technically it shouldn't have worked, but it had a magic. And you know, sometimes I bang on about this to people and they look at me as if I'm a spacer, like, how can a place have a magic? But it does. And I think Turner's Cross has it, and I think Dalymount has it, and Dalymount is like completely, it's like a disaster, but it's got something. You feel that you're part of history. Tolka has it to an extent. The showgrounds in Sligo has it. UCD Belfast should just be levelled. Forget about that. But you know, there are grounds that work, and there are grounds that don't work.
With the training facilities that I could see that could be put there with that much, you know, ground, you know, all weather pitches and that, I thought it was the way to go with Cork City. You know, unfortunately, we were sinking out there as the season progressed because the pitch was so bad. And it makes me laugh really because Pat, I remember I travelled to Shells last year. It was the second or third last game of the season, and I went up with a couple of buddies when we drove up, and I met some of the supporters coming back, and one of them said to me, Dave, you know, mad about City, we follow City everywhere, and he says, but I never followed you in Bishopstown. And I looked at him, I said, why didn't you follow us in Bishopstown? It's too far out. And I asked him, did you go up to the Setanta game up in Portadown? I did. You're up in Dublin on a Friday night. I did. And I says, you wouldn't go to Bishopstown. You know, I suppose fans, you know, they either love a stadium or they don't. I think the infrastructure was wide open, windy, rainy nights. I think the summer soccer has helped, you know, immensely as well to getting the crowds back, you know. But I think, you know, it didn't take off with the fans. But I think to this day, I think it was very disappointing. It collapsed because, you know, if you look around the league now, like clubs are selling their grounds to stay in football, and you know, to think that Cork City could have that ground out there with a big infrastructure as regard training facilities would have been marvellous.
Who was it that had some sort of relations in the centre circle? Do we have a name there?
Oh, it was actually a friend of mine the night before it opened.
What you were, right?
He had, shall we say, carnal knowledge with a girlfriend, so he was the first one to score in Bishopstown.
See, I had took a half day to watch him one week to win a cup match or league match, whatever it was. I took a half day from work, particularly to go to Ireland to Bishopstown, right? And they lost, right? So the following week they were playing again on a Wednesday, and I swore I'm not going up, and I didn't, just in pure spite. So the next, they had to be playing 3 games in a row, and then we went out again the next game, and Tony O'Sullivan, remember Tony O'Sullivan used to be involved in City. We used to be standing behind the dugout, you see, all the man was there, and they barely in the man. I said I'd given it, what for, and Tony turned around to me. He says, you weren't fucking here last fucking Wednesday, he says. We didn't hear you were on. And I wore back. This is now, the match was going on now, like. And on the dugout, I turned around. I says, I took a fucking half day the week before, I said. And you were baiting. I certainly wasn't going to do it last week, I said. I said, it costing me money, you know. And we had this conversation, slagging what's going on. Clock row, we were all getting stuck at him. The dugout were telling him to shut up. The match was going on. No watching the match. You know? No watching the game.
Who would you say was the most talented player to play for City?
I tell you, in recent times, I actually think that Mick Devine has been outstanding.
Do you want to turn around there and just show the camera the jersey? I mean, that pretty much says it all, really.
Like I'd go with George as well. Like, you know, George was an impressive player. In fairness, like you know, as they said, like he had a lot of flair with him. Like, you know, but then you know we just kind of have to move on. Like, and you know, I'm starting to really warm to Roy O'Donovan. You know, he's starting to get it. You know, he's impressed me there the last few games, and you know, he's shown his ability to score goals, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Like, you know.
Well, for me, it has to be Dave Valley. Like,
one of the stories was that there was a kind of a young fella brought over on loan from the UK, you know, and it was pre-season or something like that, and it was like Patsy was a sub, this young fella was a sub or whatever, and they were kind of, this young fella was doing all the stretches and warming up, running up and down the line, trying to impress the manager or whatever, and trying to get on and get a run, and Patsy was standing in the corner of the dugout, like, and next to, I don't know who was the manager at the time, it could have been Dave, you know, or someone, and they said, you know, linesman, substitution. So the young fella starts stripping off or whatever. They said, Patsy, come on, you're on. And Patsy went, stubbed out the fag and ran out to the pitch. The young fella just left there going, what the fuck do I have to do to get on here?
Patsy, I think, because I think Patsy, you know, he had the skill, but he had that kind of glint in his eye. I think Patsy was kind of the guy who, if he hadn't been playing, he would have been up in the terraces with everybody else, and by the same token, if we'd been on the pitch, that's what we'd like to have been, even down to like the little off the ball incidents occasionally, like that he was capable of throwing in, you know, and like he never gave up. I just like, and in terms of the ability he had as well, I think, you know,
for a very small guy as well, he was
yeah.
I've kind of vague recollections of Donny Madden, alright, but I just couldn't figure out how he used to stay on the pitch, like, and get through 90 minutes. But Dave Barry, I suppose, was the player. He was just, you know, pure class, and Frayne as well. And like, I used to love John Caulfield, to be honest. I think there was always, it was always weird. It was always like you were either a Pat Morley fan or a John Caulfield fan, and for some reason you weren't allowed to be fans of both of them. You had to make a choice. So I was always Caulfield.
What was your funniest moment of all following City?
It's a good one, man.
Oh, that's great wit. If I hear witty remarks, I just get jealous because I didn't think of them myself, so I deliberately forget them. Well, I suppose there's been lots of them, but the one that sticks out was in March of '92, quarter-final of the FAI Cup at home to Limerick, and Moses, I had to do with Moses at the time. I know you'll be interviewing him later for this, so he'll probably give me his own take on it, but it was Moses, and didn't really like Cormac Cotter. Now, Cormac wasn't the most gifted player we ever had, but he gave 110%.
Like, I used to try. Cormac Cotter got a man to match one day. I don't ask me know how I got it, like, you know. He used to get it off, the poor man used to get it off a slagging. Like, he was neighbour of mine one time in Conley Road, and he actually moved to Torker, you know. And I never realised it until I saw his parents out in the class one day, and I see Cormac with him. And I says, that's never the Cormac Cotter that lived next door to me all those years, you know. I've grown up, like, and playing for Cork City, you know. But, no, he was terrible.
So, what happened was, Davy Barry put us 1-0 up in the first half into the St. Anne's end. We played into the shed in the second half. We were 1-up and we were comfortable-ish, but you know the way he was always with the nervousness there at 1-0, and you're kind of Limerick pushing on, and we were kind of going, disgusting. We played Limerick, you know, under the pressure, so, excuse me, they break away anyway, ball lobbed over the top from a Limerick attack. Cotter through 1-on-1 with the keeper. And the anticipation, the shed as he's getting nearer the goal, he gets to the edge of the box. And next Moses, no, not Cotter! Full sure he was going to miss, like. And he just dinked it up over the keeper. Keeper went to ground, dinked it over the keeper into the net and came over in front of the shed like this. As if to say, fuck you, bud. And 2-0 the game was in the bag, and I'll never forget that we laughed and laughed so much because like Moses didn't like him, and he was like, not Cotter, anyone but Cotter, like, and then he just, for such a class finish, it was just so funny.
How about the best banners?
What? Cork versus Shells. I forget.
Up in Dublin, wasn't it?
Yeah. No. St. Anne's End. Judas on the bench.
Oh yeah.
Match ticket €15. Program €3. Judas on the bench, priceless. That's the best I've seen ever in football. I've been going to years. Nothing like that.
Another cracker was a visit by Shamrock Rovers to the Cross, and as we all know, Rovers have had no home since 1880 something. And I think there's a lovely fountain in the middle of Milltown in that housing estate, but I'm not here to gloat. But they were in the middle of being thrown out of somewhere else to go somewhere else, and they arrived in Turner's Cross for their home game against us, and next to you across the back of the shed this banner unfurled, "This is not a halting site." I thought that was a cracker, like.
I think it was maybe mid-80s, and we were 6 down at half time. We couldn't. Eamon O'Keefe was manager, and I'll never forget walking off the pitch at half time. The crowd, the stick we got coming off the pitch. If the team bus was open, we would have got on the bus and go home, because it was just one of those nightmare scenarios. 6 down at half time, and I'll always remember Eamon O'Keefe. We walked into the dressing room, and there was a young guy called Norman Kelly playing with us at the time, and Norman was eating a burger and chips in the corner of the dressing room. Like at that time, you'd have 14 men, you know, and you'd bring a 15 in case one of the lads got sick on the bus and things like that. I think there was a couple of us wanted to get sick at half time, not go out, but the smell of just burgers and chips in the dressing room, you're coming in. Now, it was a situation, we were so, the sweat was dripping off. We were just chasing these people all day, the first half. And then to go into a dressing room there, 6-0 down, and the smell of burgers and chips. But I remember Eamon was playing the same day. He was playing with me in the middle of the park. And when we walked in, he just screamed at Norman, "Get rid of it, get rid of that, throw it in the bin." But Norman was only earful at the time. And I'd say it was his last pocket money, it must have been, because on the way out, as Eamon was just berating him, going out to the dressing room, he was trying to eat the burger before he didn't want to throw it away. He was eating it. But as we sat down, I always remember he was Ginger Healy playing the same day, and Eamon turned, he says, "It's all your fault." This was going on. He kind of half played Ginger, and Ginger was playing wide on the right. And I was saying, how could somebody play wide in the right, and we were just torn apart the whole game.
We weren't involved in the game at all, but it was Rovers against Bows game. I think it was in Inchicore, and the Rovers Ultras, I mean, they're amazing, some of the displays they do, but this one, what they did was they got a big sheet of cardboard and cut it out in the shape of a toilet bowl, and then they had a banner with the name of each Bows player on it, and they symbolically flushed each one of them down the toilet before kick-off, and it was just the sheer effort and organisation that went into it. It was fantastic. It was really, really brilliant. Like.
But it's actually, for some reason, the banner that stands out to my mind the most is actually a banner that was unfurled by opposition fans in Turner's Cross. Pats fans actually had a big, huge red thing with white writing on it, and written across was, "If you can read this, you're not from Cork." And I just thought it was simply just pure, that's the Cork humour, pure pull the piss over us, and we laughed it off. There was no resentment, no hassle, no bitterness about it. It was just pure bastards. They beat us to it when we would love to have done that to them, like, you know.
I think, like, the plank, I presume people have mentioned it here before, but the plank was just hilarious. I mean, like, the poor bloke, I even forget who it was. I think it was against Shells. I'm not sure, though. It was like it's been lost in the midst of the memory.
For a while, I heard people, when people got injured, you'd expect Nina, but sometimes you'd hear people saying, bring out the plank, and I didn't know why. Obviously, like everything else, I just started singing it myself, A lot of times I really didn't. In fact, it took me years to get all the words of Low Lie, the Fields of Bishopstown. And actually, to be honest, the first time I heard it, I didn't even know why they were singing the Fields of Bishopstown. I didn't even know what the connection was, except that it was my last name. So anyway, bring out the plank. So for ages I was saying it, and then finally I said to somebody, like, what's the story with the plank? And they said that there was some match in Dundalk years ago, like when, before the Celtic Tiger, like before we had stretchers and ambulances, and somebody got injured and they didn't have a stretcher, so they actually brought out like a plank or two planks or something, and they stretched this guy off in a plank.
It was just when that came out, I mean, that just summed up League of Ireland at that stage, and I mean, just that chant whenever I hear, and in fact, I remember being in the shed about 3 years ago, and like some fella got injured, and there was kids in front of me. They couldn't have been more than like 12 or 13, and they were chanting, "Bring on the plank," and I mean, they weren't even born when the incident happened, and I'm pretty sure they didn't know exactly what happened, but it was still like it was just class, like.
It's funny, bring out the plank. I'd say some kids that don't know the story expect Pat Kenny to come out and start giving somebody mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
You were on about like I was actually talking to some guys today walking in, and the away fans, a lot of the away fans would come into the shed, before.
Oh yeah.
And in one instance in particular, I came into the shed, and Richie was there from mine. Richie says, "Have a look." There was two Boys fans there, and I said, "Lads, what are you doing here?" "Yeah, we're here to watch the match." I know, yeah, it's like around there, so you can't be in here. This is the Cork City end, like. "Yeah, we're staying here." This has single away Boys, you see. So I stood behind them anyway, and the lad says, "You leave them there." No. So just before the game started, they started singing. So I caught the two by the neck and ran down the steps of the shed. I thought they made a run for me, what have you. So the guards were there, and the stewards were called, and the stewards and the guards said to him, they said, "What are you doing there?" So "You should be done with, we can watch the match where we want to." So I did wish going to the shed, And the boys were cheering and all cheering, Moses and all this, and they got a mood, But like, if you did that in daily mode, you'd be lynched. Yeah. You wouldn't do it anyway,
Like the shed had a great character about it, like, and it was intimidating, and that's the best thing I loved about it. It was so intimidating, players wouldn't go against it, especially goalkeepers.
But a lot of time with these players as well, you would have a grudging admiration for them at the same time as well, but that was it with Paul Whelan, like, you never be your brother, or even you never be, was it his uncle as well, wasn't it, but it was like these fellas, like, that's what makes it all part of it as well, is having these fellas that you go out there and you love to, like, it's the same with fellas who've left City, like, it's great when they come back. Reynolds now coming back, Carl, Carney, all these come back, it makes it all enjoyable, like, that you go out there and it's good, like, the hate is great, like, but after the match then, let me say, like, you'd hear then about, was it last time Carl was down here and he got a load of grief outside the match, and that's getting carried away then. You don't. You give it loads when they're playing, and call that's enough there then, like, it's enough at that stage.
Americans call friendly fire.
Just a couple of questions for you.
Where's our hide the money, is it?
Come here.
Can you tell me who's your favourite Cork City player?
Danny Murphy.
Patsy Crane, without a doubt.
Any particular story about Patsy? Everyone has a Patsy story.
I think the best thing about Patsy is his fear of flying. It all. His fear of flying. He's no fear on the pitch, but when I'm the player, it's the one really. You know, everybody talks about it. I've seen footage of Patsy when Cork have travelled abroad in European games, and you'll see the fear in his face. But when he's on the pitch, or when he was on the pitch for Cork City, he was just fantastic. Great man to pass the ball.
What's his name?
Danny Murphy, number 5.
Where did this whole consultant come from?
I don't know where it came from. It came from the shed, like, you know. I don't know where they got it from, but like they started off, and I just have a bit of crack when it comes down. The thing is, there's no harm in having a bit of banter with the fans. You still concentrate on their game, but you can still have a bit of banter as well, like, you know.
There've been some greats there. Conor O'Brien from the current squad, the John Caulfields, of course, the Pat Morleys, the Big Think, Biscuits, another legend. As a stack of them. There's the top 20.
One more. Favourite game?
Favourite game of all time? I suppose winning the league in 1993 was a fantastic one. But I suppose the best of all had to be the Cup replay in 1998. Do you want to see a grown man cry? Check the videos.
John, thanks a million. Pleasure meeting you.
You too.
What game do you most look forward to every season, guys?
Longford. Yeah.
Shelbourne home, definitely. It's just, I mean, it is the big rivalry. I know there seems to be this thing building with Drogheda now as well, like, but Shelbourne at home, or Derry at home, because of the fact of Derry bring a great support. And I always enjoy Derry supporters. Great banter with them last year before the final game of the season inside in the corner house. I mean, if this was English football, you're talking about trouble, two sets of supporters. There was banter, there was singing, there was dancing, hats, flags, banners. What more could you ask for, like, you know what I mean?
What was the best game you've seen City play, or maybe the best moment?
Might have been City at their best, but I think the 2-0 away in Lithuania when we beat Ukrainas, that was probably up there for me, because that was the UEFA Cup. We didn't really know what to expect from them. They didn't turn out to be as good as we thought, but we went away in Europe, and for the first time we completely dominated a team. Like, you know, they never got close to us that night, and just we were fantastic.
Games themselves, I suppose you had the 4-4 draw against Shelbourne, which I suppose everybody will say was a classic game from a footballing perspective. From a Cork City team effort perspective, you've got different things like the game was at Standard Liège where the boys were doing the can and you had a chance to come out of the shed. So you've different reasons for different things.
It was probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago that I went to the shed for the first time. And again, it was just about the crack for me. I didn't know many of the players. Like, slowly but surely, I got to know them. But it did inspire a bit of material for me, because I was doing Cork gigs a lot then down in city limits, and I was desperate for material. And I think I went to a match one day, and then I had a gig that night. And they weren't doing Friday night matches at that time. I think this was a Saturday afternoon anyway. And I did the gig, and I didn't really have material, but I know I had been sniffing snuff at the match. And, you know, it's a strange thing to hear an American accent in Turner's Cross. You know, it's not like there's a huge sort of American supporters club for Cork City FC. And I was just joking about the fact that the first couple of times I shout out, like, "Come on, Cork City!" and everybody be looking at you like, "Who the fuck is your man? Like, shut the fuck up, you don't even know what you're on about." And I really felt a little uncomfortable, and I didn't feel like I fit in. And then my friend Ian took out some snuff, and I had a bit of snuff, and once the snuff went in my nose, I was like, "Come on, for fuck's sake! Get stuck in, Carl, you fucking traitor, you know?"
One of the games that sticks out in my mind for just sheer crack and sheer emotion was when we won the League Cup against Rovers. Again, I think it was the 30th of December or something, 1999 or something like that. It was the year after we won the FAI Cup.
December 98, yeah, it was the same year.
And Noel Harting got a cracking goal, a ball like just pinged back and forth all the way up the pitch, and he kind of slid it home into the shed end and just to do it against Rovers. I think Tony Dodd was sent off in the same game as well, wasn't he?
Kicked Johnny C.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah,
Kelvin missed the penalty then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I mean, it was just a great night. It was a mud bath of a pitch, and had been lashing rain all morning.
Yeah,
and
that's
suddenly
right,
the
yeah.
skies just parted. Like,
I sat here and I was thinking, going through it, best games, like you could talk about cup finals now, right? You could talk about League Cup finals, you could talk about European games. But I'd say you were at this game. It only happened 2 years ago as far as I can remember. 2-3 years ago if I'm wrong. And they were losing 2-0 to Rovers outside in Thomas Cross.
And the Rovers fans were really giving it big time, you know, and we were going, Jesus, we're going to be smacked all over or whatever.
And then he brought on, it was Liam Murphy was manager, and James Mulligan came on.
And all of a sudden, bang, and bang again, you know what I mean? And it was 2-2, you know.
And they came back and won 3-2. For me, because it was, first of all, it was Rovers, right? And the it was done.
What a lot of fellas don't realise is we actually have been voted twice the UEFA Cup of the Week, or Team of the Week. I think it was 2 years ago was the first time when Pat Dolan's joined the Toto. And to me, like a small club like Cork City, granted a lot of bigger clubs hadn't entered the competitions at that stage, so we had a friendlies, but the fact that we got recognition off UEFA for such a small club from a backwater place when it comes to the soccer standards, like we got recognised as UEFA Cup of the Week or UEFA Team of the Week. It sounds to me like, geez, no, just finding recognition in our own place. And that means something like that. Any Cork person has to be proud the fact that their team has been recognised. Even if you're a Man United supporter living in Cork, you should be recognised. That is an amazing achievement. Like
the Shells game away, there's no doubt about it. We went into a round robin situation, and you know, I think with the experience in that side, it was a situation where it only happened in a couple of times, maybe in my GA career as well, where we've been beaten. That when we went up to Dublin, no matter what was thrown at us, we were going to come back with the cup that you know, and you know, we went behind, and then you know we went behind again, and we went ahead 2-1. I got the second, and when Paul Bannon got the goal to make it 3-2 and bring the league down to City was fantastic. Yeah.
Well, Rovers, a great one. It's like and that actually talking about away games, that Rovers away game which was at the Cross. I mean that was a panic. Like I mean, I'd say you wouldn't get that in any other league, but Rovers is always good. And I mean, I suppose Shells recently, the Pats games were brilliant when Pats were, when Dolan was managing them and when Pats were like doing really well. There was some great ding dongs. The Shells 4-4. I think. Chris, what year was that now? 99 was it? Whatever year it was, but that was amazing. That was such an up and down game. And I mean, I was like so destroyed when I went to 4-4. I was like praying that there'd be no more goals, whether it be us or them. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was just destroyed from that. But it's a pity Ramblers aren't up there, because like in the Premier League, because like Ramblers is always a good away trip as well. But I suppose the Dublin team's coming down, and Derry is always a good game too. That Derry Cup, the Derry semi-final a couple of years ago, that was a brilliant game in the Cross as well. So, and of course, last year's game was unbelievable.
you were actually doing a gig that night, I think, weren't you? You were saying.
Yeah. So the night that City won the league, I unfortunately had to do a gig in Vicar Street in front of 1,000 people, and as I said, like I'd gone to a lot of matches towards the end of the season, and I was sick over not being able to go, and my gigs start at 8:30. Right, and what I normally do is I do like 25 minutes to a half an hour, and bring on the first act, and then he does the rest of the half, and then there's a break, and then I do my thing. So, if I remember correctly, the match started at 8 o'clock. Yeah, so we didn't start the show until 8:45 that night instead. Right, so I watched the whole first half, then I went out. And I did 15 minutes, knowing that the break of the match would be 15 minutes. Now, we have to remember that these people paid €25 to see me.
Like you asked me there about my best memory in Europe, and some people would have their own opinions. But for me, it would have been the previous round. You know, they played Town.
T3. I'm bad for years, you know. That was amazing. Like that was the European Cup, and they were like 3 down at half time.
They came back to 3-2, and I said, that's great, at least we're still with a fighting chance. Out to Thomas Cross, full house, right? Went another goal down, so that was 4-2. You know, and they played into the shed in the second half, and next thing they got to go back, 1/4 left. And if my memory serves me right, I'm not sure, was it Johnny Glenn got the winner. There was about 5 minutes left, like, and never erupted, like. I mean, they went through the away goals. Like, people say Bayern Munich, alright, that was special as well, but it wasn't in Thomas Cross.
Actually, Noel Feeney, I think, saved our lives that day because we were like, for some reason, we pooled all our money, and we were saying like, this is what we'll do now. We'll buy a load of drink, and like, you save the money, you take the money for the drink, and you take the money for the food, and the fella who had the money for the food lost the money, so we'd grow up, suffered about, like, we got the boat over whatever, and I think we slept rough even. It's like, I don't know why we slept rough, because we were all like working, we could all afford to stay somewhere. I think we forgot to give someone like accommodation money or something like that. But anyway, it was like we were all starving, like, and of course the fella who had the drink money wouldn't give any of the drink money to buy food. Like, we were all like famished, like, and in the end, Noel could see it. We were like sitting on a wall or something. It was the day after the game. We got 2 goals in the second half, and I lost 3-2. And Noel came down and she said, "Are you all right, lads?" And we were saying, "Oh yeah, we're starving." But like, we like bottles of cider, all right. Like, we could afford them, all right. But we're getting our priorities right. But Noel went in anyway, and I think she had befriended the hotel manager where the team was staying, and he gave us all yesterday's desserts. So she came up with a big bag of desserts. So it was like chocolate gatto and eclairs and everything. And we like scoffed them all down. So I never thanked her for that. So thanks, Noel, for the grub that day in Cumbran in '93.
I think really the atmosphere in the Galatasaray stadium at the time was fantastic. I remember walking into it. We used to get there probably an hour and 3/4 before the game, and we came down under the stadium in a bus, so we didn't actually see the pitch, and there was this kind of drone, a kind of hum that was going around the stadium, and you'd be thinking it's something to do with the boilers or something like that, or but we actually walked out before the game, and there must have been 20,000 supporters in the ground.
Malmo really stands out for me, to be honest, because up to then we'd sort of been plucky losers and giving it a shot against bigger boys and all that kind of stuff. And Malmo, like, we shook them in the home leg, and then they were still cocky as hell going into the away leg. They were sure they were going to do it. That had just been an off day on their part and nothing decent on our part. And when we went over there and when Liam Carney scored, it was literally like you could write the headlines, "We'd arrived in Europe."
I don't know how I lasted that trip. I honestly don't. I started work on the Wednesday night at 7:15. I was working nights at the time, and I worked on the 7:15 the following morning. Went straight to Cork Airport, met Pat out there, went to Gatwick, went to Prague, went straight to the match, went straight out. I don't know how I lasted that. But that wouldn't be one of the benches, but the best trip for me was definitely Malmo.
Malmo, I think, yeah, Malmo and Prague.
It was the first time that we actually won both legs in Europe.
Like, we went into this big massive stadium. It was crumbling. It was made for the '92 European Championships in Sweden at the time, and it was a massive stadium back then, because like since that way I'm watching soccer on telly or whatever, and like when I went into it, like, I don't know, the hairs on my back just stood up, like, and I said, right, I said, be proud of you, like, Cork City are playing. And I think we were home first and we beat them, and they were there, they were all being cocky and stuff like that, like, and their fans inside the city centre were being very cocky, whatever, like. But we stayed in Copenhagen, and we had some crack in Copenhagen for 4 days. We were there because we went our own way,
And like, we went into this bar. It was a Scottish bar. We went into it, and we sat down. Like, then all of a sudden, the lads walk into the same bar 5 minutes later, and there's a huge gang of City fans in this bar, totally unarranged, totally by coincidence. In this bar in the middle of Copenhagen, a Scottish bar in the middle of Copenhagen, a big massive gang of City fans.
There was this one sitting there, and Chinese girl, like, and she, fucking fags no more.
I'd say at the time that we were there, she must have drank about 12 pints of stout. And that's fact. And for every pint of stout, she had about 10 fags. And she was smoking a fag, and she'd blown.
Trying to smoke into it was coming up, and like, we were all getting a great laugh off, we saved Tintin Dunnocks, like, we were just in stitches at her,
You've had a good European away trip when the captain of the ferry comes down to kick you off it. Isn't that true, lads? When the captain of the ferry comes down to kick you off it. He actually came down, he said, "We're here, we're in Swansea, could you please get off?" And we said, "We'll have one more," and we were ringing the bell and everything.
Do you remember the Bulgarians?
I don't. I'm sure you couldn't even call out their names, man. He was calling out number two was number two. You know, the guy did the call up the teams, and you know, number 1 Phil Harrington, number 2 was number 2, and number 3 then Stephen Adriel, number 4. he didn't even guess it, like, you know, he just didn't make no attempt whatsoever. But sure, they were a disaster. Like.
You're renowned as one of the finest poets in Cork. Well, certainly most Cork City fans anyway.
Well, I do my best.
2 of my favourite poems are one you did after the trip to Prague, and another one was one this season as well, called Relaxation Complexities. Doing Prague was the other one. Can we get you to recite one of those?
Yeah, do the Prague. It's good memories of Prague or whatever. When that shiny yellow ball emerged from UEFA's bag, our first round opposition would be the Slavias from Prague. We knew it would be tough, but we're not quite overawed. Another European trip with the grace and help of God. Every form of transport was used to get us there. Car and train, boat and plane, donkey, cart and prayer. Rico couldn't make the trip, he had a lung infection. We took along another few to give the team direction. Skippy, Decky, Biscuits too were there to help Dave Hill. Rico had instructed them, can you imagine the phone bill? A multitude of different routes were taken on the way for everyone to be there on that very special day. Gatwick, Stansted, Stockholm, Paris all housed our merry band. Some of us even ended up travelling through Dublin. With tales of Bacardi breezes and stories unbelievable, the rebel army settled in, the numbers inconceivable. More arriving hour by hour, all different shapes and creeds. The Charles Bridge March united all, even the Japanese. Now walking the streets of Prague wasn't quite like doing Pana. We had ladies asking our lads if they could please blow their banana. There were men looking for Charlie. We said sorry boy, not a clue. All we were really interested in was downing local brew. We lived on Staro Pram and spicy sausage and mustard. Despite the quite pugnacious smell, we drove on undeterred. The taxis took us up the hill 100 miles an hour. Tailgating trams and beeping horns, our knuckles white as flour. We had fans appear from everywhere, gathering at the scene. The total final head count was 819. The boys that battled proudly, we sang till we were hoarse. We belted out our every tune, and then the banks, of course. It was an honour and a privilege to stand there in that crowd and sing and chant for Cork City, though beaten still unbowed. Football is a cruel, cruel game, we didn't deserve to score. We clapped our heroes off the pitch, then clapped a little more. A lump had stuck there in my throat, a tear welled in my eye, for I know I am, I'm sure I am, in City till I die.
To compare City to one of the many soaps on television, which one would it be?
I had to think about that, and I'm not really a soaps person, but I was thinking about EastEnders, because there's always drama in it, and tears, lots of tears, you know. As you can't go an episode without there being somebody crying, you know, about something.
I don't watch soaps.
I'm going to say Home and Away.
That's me, EastEnders.
EastEnders?
It would. Because there are times when it's absolutely brilliant,
yeah.
and the times when it's so bad you're thinking, oh my god, what am I doing watching this? Let me run and turn it over.
Are you saying some of the characters in EastEnders were?
Oh no, it's more the performances.
EastEnders is too depressing. There's some comic relief with City in there, like, so I don't know, Coronation Street, like, there's a touch of the Jack and Fear about it at times. Like.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, looking at, we'd say, City and comparing it to music, what music would you tend to associate with Cork City?
Well, the Cork City has always been closely kind of linked with the Cork kind of music scene, and you know, Marty McCarthy was always, you know, still is a huge City fan, like, and you know, he'd been in the Suttons of Ping, and the Frank and Walders were always at the matches. You had the guys out of the Belsonic Sound, you had Ian Richards and stuff like that, you know, still goes to the games, and But the one song for me is Elvis Presley, Can't Help Falling in Love with You, because it just you know, every time Elvis is singing I can't help falling in love with you, I just want to go stand up and go Sente, Sente. You know, probably should have more respect for the king, but you know, that's just the way it is.
The Langer song then.
So I was just about to say
the Langer song. You know,
it was against Rovers as well.
The boy sang in front of the shed like, and that night, you know, there was a big crowd. So it was easy 5,000 there like.
And of course as well the time the band, what they call it again?
Natural
Gas. Yeah. They played at half time in Turner's Cross, and it was the City and Rovers game. And the whole ground just joined in. The Shed and the Derrynan stand and the Corner Boys and the Donny Ford stand, everything.
And to a man, when they came to the chorus, like, all pointed
over to
Rovers, and I was sitting there like, livid, like, you know, it was a classic moment, like it was like, but you had to be there, like,
it was fantastic.
You had to be there. You could tell people that no, and it's we don't say funny in that, but when you follow Cork City and you hear Rovers, it was just a classic moment, like.
There's a line in Fashion Crisis Hits New York which says, I still like my old 3-piece suite, but it's in the shed and I have no seat. And a few people kind of said, was that written about being in the shed and the lack of seating in Turner's Cross at the time? But it wasn't, like. But I mean, if people want to think that, they can. Like.
Any particular refereeing decisions in the mind down through the years that were notable, shall we say?
Shelbourne away.
In the Stanley Cup.
There was no way that ball was over the line.
A goal it never was.
Yeah. I suppose you can't really look beyond Hanlon up in Chicor.
I'm sure everyone said that before.
And another one that got me was this year over in Cyprus. The stuff with Danny and Joe, I think that ref totally lost the plot. I don't think he knew what he was doing. I reckon he was probably, in terms of impact, his was as great. I mean, okay, the one in Inchicore denied us the league title, but I mean, who knows what we were denied by what that fella did over in Cyprus, like, and it was scandalous. And any decision Jimmy O'Neill took as well, any decision at all Jimmy O'Neill took.
A refereeing decision that would stand out for me, and it was a bad decision, but it wasn't exactly a terrible decision, but it's just the effect that it had was Dick O'Hanlon up in Inchicore in '99 sending off Kelvin Flanagan. And we had to lose the game 1-0, and that's the game that cost us the league. If we beat Pats once that season, we'd have won the league. It's actually similar to 2 years ago. If we beat Shells once, we'd have won the league. And I remember just that night being up in Inchicore, and there was a huge City following up there. And like the whole Camex side was Cork City fans and a bit in the stand as well. And Dick O'Hanlon sent off Kevin Flanagan. It was kind of the change at the turning point of the game. And City went on to lose the game, went on to lose the league.
Well, he has to be one of our own, Pat Kelly, I have to say. He's a Cork man, and he's actually turned around to be a great friend of mine. But I think I was sent off twice in my career, and Pat Kelly has sent me off twice in my career. And one I deserved, because 6 of us were actually sent off when I played with Tremor against the great Cove Ramblers team in the early 80s. They were Munster Senior League at the time, and there was absolute war down in our pitch in Tremor, down by Carrigaline, and there was 6 of us sent off. Could have been 9 of us sent off. I think he got that decision right, but another decision he sent me off a back chat, and you know, I was looking at Pat and I says he must have something against me, but afterwards we're after becoming great buddies, and I think it's just that competitive spirit. I mean, when I'm on the pitch, I see no wrong, you know. But
what was the worst football jersey City in?
There was, what season was it? I think it might have been 2000, 2001. It was around then. There was a red and white number, a red jersey with the white stripe across the front of it, the Lecoq one, and I don't know, it mightn't have been the worst jersey in terms of what it looked like, but the quality of it was something shocking.
Was that the shiny one?
That shiny crap, yeah, it was dreadful. There was actually another one, the third jersey that season, that I don't know if they ever wore. It was practically fluorescent puce green with the white stripe across the front of it, and that was awful as well. I'd say those two would probably be.
It was for no jogging, I think, so you can get knocked down.
Yeah, something like that.
I didn't particularly like the white one from last year either. And some of the players, like, it looked like they were wearing ball gowns with plunging necklines or something.
It's my favourite jersey of all time.
Can't be serious, man. That's
I love it. Love it.
It was in the ball gowns though, yeah.
No, I don't know. I think it must be something to do with my other passion being Real Madrid. But I just love white jerseys. I mean, this one I'm wearing now, and that would be probably my 2 favourite of all time. I love them.
Has to be this one here. The pyjamas.
I know maybe you may be known that time, but the worst shot for me was the famous pyjamas jersey. Like, I mean, that came into my head straight away. No, the jersey, only that one. Like, it was horrible. Like, it was like if you put it on you, the shorts and the jersey
the shorts
were together. It was like one complete suit, you know. It was brutal, like, and no one liked it. And I think I said we got a year over it, you know.
There's been a lot of dodgy ones. Alright, I mean, I thought the initial one was a bit weird. The hoops to start with, like, because that was like a Shamrock Rovers gear, which was a bit of a strange one. Although I don't know, do you remember like Queen's Park Rangers were sponsored by Guinness, so the black and white pictures, we looked like Queen's Park Rangers. But I suppose the worst one actually was that, like, when they moved to red, the red one. When would that have been? Oh, whenever, years again. But when they moved to red, there was this like red kind of fleck one, and it was really bad. Really bad, I thought. It was like, I mean, Arsenal had a yellow kind of one with the fleck running through. It was like a similar style to that. And that one, which had like the diagonal, it was like the kind of diagonal to here wasn't too bad, but the ones where they had the diagonal going right down, that was dodgy enough. But my favourite jersey is actually the one that was called the Quinsworth bag at the time. Do you remember the one where it had like red and green stripes down? I actually like that. That was the one where, the pyjamas one, when Johnny Glynn got the winner against Cumbrand. There was like big posters all around the city. But I think that's my favourite, because it reminds me of there's a team in Brazil. Is it Corinthians? Yeah, they have a similar, and I always liked that gear as well. Like, so.
There was a version of that one as well, but like that was the one the players wore. Yeah. It was nice material and things. But the one the red one there. But the ones they showed in the shop were again the shiny kind of material that you put it in the wash once, and to turn into a big fluffy jacket or something. And
well, the pyjamas wasn't too bad if it was with white shorts or green shorts, but the fact that they had stripes on the shorts as well. Sweet mothers of mercy. Must be a blind person designing the shaggy thing, in fairness. Like.
When they start singing "He is God," the John O'Flynn, you know, you kind of think you're a mass sometimes, you know, one of these big prayer group meetings. But yeah, that'll be one that you'll be thinking of.
I like the stick they give Dan Connor, you know. I know Dan Connor from my days at Peterborough and Waterford, and he enjoys it as well. It's just like.
A big thing with the support in Cork. I mean, when I first got here, I sort of loved it, fell in love with the place, and the support was brilliant, you know.
It was just a pleasure to play in front of them, and it's a pleasure to play for a club like this, because, as I've said already, and I hate saying it again, and I'm like a recording record here now, but you don't get fans like this, you know, and that's why they're so special.
I remember actually standing next to you in the shed with a cup in your hands, and the fans were trying to rip your shirt off and your shorts off and everything. I mean, you wouldn't see the likes of that in the Barnaby or in Stamford Bridge or whatever.
No, it's true. I don't think I remember going in with anything on anyway, but you know, I did have quite a few items of clothing taken off me if anyone's got more like them back. Down with Longford there, I used to be wearing these aluminum tops, and I looked a bit like a Teletubby in fairness with the smallness, so the lads used to give me a stick over that and they did a hokey pokey for them, so that's a special place to come, like, you know, the supporters are great and they're nice people.
I'll never forget the day we came back here, and it was my first game back, and we played Pats in the playoff, or not in the playoff, sorry, in a televised game, and I scored, and we went one up, and it was a very, very important game, and we ended up lose game, but I remember just jumping up in the wall, and I had a photograph on my wall. It was just incredible, because it was just like home I came, you know. And lo and behold, the following week I tried to do exactly the same and I missed the wall and fell in. So.
We won a game, it was always to do with the shed because it was always spurring us on. When playing UCD and Brain, it's hard to get a result. They're always there, you know, singing along like and get that goal that you need, you know. And
As I've always said, it's probably great that summer football came on our back four, and this is my slag when I get into the lads. It's great when summer football came, because the people over there in the far side there, over by the St. Anne's and over by just by what we call that over there, that far side of the shed, or the Derrynane Road area, they can have summer barbecues now because this team play football. You know, a lot of our fellas were started kicking it in, and we used to always say we'll take the line out or we'll take a touch, you know, because they'd be booting the ball over there. And poor Finbar used to be chasing the ball. If we knew how to kill time, we just knock it back to the back four and they'd boot it into touch. Only joking, lads.
What's your thoughts on the fanzine, John? The 4-1 fanzine?
I think it's been great. Like, Jerry Harris called it the Socratic horsefly there last year, and it's kind of that thing like that. You know, it's kind of I think the club kind of do take notice to a degree, even if they wouldn't admit it, like the things that are said.
Declan, the website, right? Okay, you're an integral part of the website and all that. What part do you think the website plays in kind of the promoting of the club and even, you know, just the kind of the interest that it creates and so on?
Just for a lot about the forum, it's 50,000 posts. That's like a couple of years ago when there was no website for the club. I thought it was just so unusual, like for a supposedly full-time club to have doesn't have a website. Like, so me and my brothers just said, let's go ahead and do it. And after a few months of it anyway, we were approached to do the official website. So then the whole thing about the forum came along, and it just built up over a few years, and it's just gone massive now.
And tell us a small bit about the forum.
It's there for the fans, and there's over 3,000 members over there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of members for a forum, and I'd say it's probably, I mean, if you want to form there from Shells, you might get one post on it every 6 hours or something. You want to Futari, there's one post every 3 hours. But this thing,
one
like,
post every week on Futari.
But if you go to this forum here, by the time you post and you go back and look again, there's another 5 posts.
Do you think many of the players read it?
All of them. And I know for a fact that most of them do, and they tell me that.
And so does the chairman, and so does the manager.
Do you think they post?
There was a member of the board posting before.
I think Rico was San Miguel, isn't
There was a member of the board posting before, we won't say who was. But he was posting 40, wasn't he?
Yeah, and there's a couple of other people from the club too.
Yeah.
Tell us, you're a member of the FOCC. And tell us how did that begin? And
the FOCC began, I'd say it began life as the CCISA, the Cork City Independent Supporters Association in the early 90s. And the gang of people that I go to the games with, that we still go to the games. I mean, the CCISA kind of, became defunct and drifted away after a number of years. And the organisation, I mean, somebody just came up with the Friends of Cork City, and that was good. I thought that was a good moniker to go by, you know. And it was. We've added numerous extensions to it over the years, but
there's one particular extension that's quite interesting. What's that?
The FOCC OFF, the official fans faction of the Friends of Cork City. Yeah, that's a good one, alright.
Declan, we're just about to start quarter-finals of the Cork City Pro Evolution PlayStation game. Can you just tell us where the idea for this came about and how successful it's been?
Well, we got a few emails and texts about people saying we should organise a tournament like this, so we just went with the demand really.
And there's been huge interest in it,
yeah,
right?
There's been good enough interest, not as much as we expected, but it's been successful.
Very good. And tell me, we have some high-profile players in the quarter-finals. Well, can you tell us some of the players that are after qualifying?
I have Cork City midfield superstar Joe Gamble. He's in the quarter-finals.
Right, Joe, what's your favourite memory from playing in front of the fans at Turner's Cross?
I have, I'd say, 2 or 3 really memories that stick out an awful lot. 2 with Cork City, 1 with the international team. My first, probably biggest memory was, I know it was about 6 years ago, but we played in the Super Cup against Bohemians. I made my debut, 1.5 time. I scored after 2 or 3 minutes to make 1-1. It was just the occasion. There was a new manager there, Colin Murphy, come in. We just finished the youth team. We won the National Cup, so it was my first kind of taste of. I was a senior level Aircom League, and it was a great achievement. Just to come on and score, it was just one of those little boys thing really that I always remembered. Second one was probably international on the 21 against Denmark. It was my first, again my debut for Ireland on the 21. Come on again at half time, funny enough, and I scored a winner. We were 2-2 scored, 2 minutes to go, and the place went mental. It was electric really. But the biggest of all would have to be last season, we won the league really.
As we head into Pro Evolution, after stage, is it confident of some silverware this season?
Yeah, I am the champ. I am unbeaten, so I've won 2 drew to. Haven't had much practice really, so I'm looking forward to getting out the nitty gritty of it. But when I used to spend a lot of time as footballers do, twiddling their thumbs, I'm a fond admirer of the old PlayStation, and I play quite a lot, so I'm very confident.
Cheers.
Turner's Cross is a very tight ground. The supporters are right on top of the pitch. There's no greyhound track or anything like that separating. We're banging on top, and you can hear things. I've always been a stand person, and I know that I've made comments from the stand at a quiet time, and I've seen the players turn around and react. They've heard me. It's been very intimidating, not just for opposition, but for home players as well, because if people think that the home players aren't playing up to this peg, you can hear the abuse given to them as well, so it can be intimidating all around. But I think it's very tight, and that Cork people are not shy in expressing their opinions, so you will hear the comment being screamed out. So I think we're kind of lucky we don't have too many microphones on the ground to hear the comments being broadcast live.
The intimidation in Turner's Cross won the league last year. When the Derry City team came out to warm up, the ground was full an hour before kick-off. The game had been sold out a week beforehand. And the boys were out warming up, running around the place, waving at their own fans. And next thing, there was one chorus was stand up, went around the ground. Every person inside in that ground, an hour before kick-off, stood up. You could see Derry, they wilted. They wilted. And that's what Turner's Cross is about. And basically, that one round of stand-up for Cork City, an hour before kick-off in a packed ground for a big game, done it.
It's only this year I've noticed it now, because I would have been in the shed and probably up towards the back of the shed for other games, but this year now, being down the Derrynan and being so even closer to the pitch, the European games in particular, or even any team we've played who wouldn't have played in the Cross before, and you see a fella coming down to pick up the ball to take a throw in, and the looks on some of their faces, they have to be seen to be believed, because they've never seen anything like. I mean, I went to see Red Star training, and they strolled in, they were looking at the place thinking, this is the training ground or something like that. There's no way the fans are going to be this close to the pitch, I suppose, with the kind of hostility that they're used to over there as well. But I think what makes the atmosphere is it's just so Cork. It really is. There's the kind of the Cork superiority complex, and there's so much wit. It's even when things are going badly, people start moaning and groaning and whatever. But before long, at some point, it always just turns to humour, and somebody will crack a joke, and everyone will stop whinging and start laughing. It's just a unique Cork thing. I really think it is.
Like Brian was saying, it's unique. You can travel the country, you can go up and down, you can go to all the stadiums, but the Cork people do bring a unique aspect to sport. Always have and always will.
There was one trip trip to Sligo was it was late on in the season, and Noel O'Mahony was the manager at the time, and it was like a particular kind of messy busload of us went up. It was just I don't know. Like it was a really early start. I think it was like a 2:00 kickoff, and I think we had to leave about like 5 in the morning. And about 5:15, you just hear, and I was like, oh jeez, that's the start of it. Like, of course, you couldn't be seen to be, not up for it. Like, so I think by the time we got to Gort, we were all locked. So we decided to stop, have a rest stop in a field, and some fella produced a ball. And I remember we had a game of soccer, and it was like north side versus south side, but there was like 20 of us on the bus, and there was only 3 of us on the south side, so it was 17v3, but we got a 1-1 draw out of it.
I remember one time, myself and Dan, we were heading out, it started to rain, we got as far as Musgrave Park, this is the fucking funny story. Bus pulled up, there was a lot of women got into Musgrave Park, and I looked at them, fucking bother away. Come on, we go to Musgrave Park for the fucking crack. This is true, we went into Musgrave Park. Don't actually know who was playing, it could have been Dolphin or Sunday as well, whatever. Yeah, we're at a rugby match to be live. So this fella's got a fucking free kick, like, and he fucking straight to the ball, put the ball down. And you know what I mean, we were doing it in Cork City matches, when the man's fucking running to kick the ball out, like, the goalkeeper, we'd fucking give him a roar, like, yeah, right? So yeah, man, fucking put the ball down and kick the fucking thing, like. So Dan started, like, you might fucking blew the fucking way, like, you know? Just for a turn around. You're obviously not regulars, you're only. You ain't giving a look at the women, mate.
But down near me in Mahon Blackrock, everybody was wearing their Barcelona, Man United, Liverpool, Celtic jerseys, and we won the trophy. And within a few days, all 15 and 20 of the lads, my son included, they were all wearing their City gear, and everybody was going to be, one of the players. They all wanted to be whoever at the time, and it was just brilliant. And seeing jerseys everywhere. I mean, I was coming out to the grounds today, and I dropped people into the bus station before I came out, and there was people wearing City jerseys heading off to Galway. I just think that's the power of the club.
What makes you optimistic for the future, lads?
The number of kids sporting in Cork City is, I mean, just like living out in Blarney now, like if I drive over to Turner's Cross, I go through by UCC and down through Toker, Ballyfian area or whatever, like, and you see kids running around in the greens in Ballyfian and Toker with City jerseys on. That's a very, very recent thing, and like even just in terms of what you see, I remember like when I started going, I was sort of, what would have been maybe 13, 14 kind of age, like, and there weren't many people of my age going to Cork City games at the time. It was all old fellas or really small kids sort of thing, or that's what it seemed like to me at the time. There didn't seem to be anybody kind of between sort of 12 and 25 or something like that.
Owen, who's your favourite Cork City player?
Danny Murphy.
Why is that?
Because I think he plays tough in defence.
Very good. And what was the best match you were ever on?
Way to the Setanta Cup final.
The one against Bohemians up in Dublin when we took over the stadium.
Can you tell me who your favourite Cork City player is?
John O'Flynn.
And why do you like him?
Because he scores loads of goals.
I mean, this last thing, all right. What does Cork City Football Club mean?
I think Cork City Football Club is it's a lot more than just the whole team, like, you know what I mean? Because I mean, like, you make so many friends out of it. You get to know so many people, build up so many contacts, and
You make so many debts.
and like, I mean, there's so much that goes with it. Like some of my best friends now I met through following City, and I mean, like, even what I'm doing at the moment now, like, you know, FM and sports broadcasting and stuff, like, kind of following City kind of would get me interested in that as well, you know. And I mean, like, there's just so many things, like, you're doing the website, like, that's again through City, like, you know, and it all builds up into a big network, and it becomes kind of a massive part of your life, I suppose, basically.
You know, we have a good soccer team. We have the best supporters in the country. So why not? Why shouldn't we be up there? Why shouldn't we, you know, brag when we get up there, sing when we get up there? I mean, it's in our nature. We're Cork people. We're proud.
Well, I remember going through school, like, and people would ask, "What team do you support?" You know, and I without a doubt, every time I said Cork City, and they were kind of bemused by this. So they'd say, "No, what team do you really follow?" And I said, "Well, I really follow Cork City because I go to all their matches." You know what I mean? So I mean, that's what it means to me. It's like people fool themselves if they think they can follow two clubs. You can only follow one club. And the one club you follow, as Frank Skinner said, it's all down to geography. You follow the club where you live closest to. And he's right, because you have no affinity to any of these other clubs. You can pretend you're a Liverpool fan, pretend you're a Manchester United fan, pretend you're a Celtic fan, but really deep down you're only fooling yourself.
Winning the league last year was just, you know, it was sort of what I'd invested way too much energy in for the best part of 6-7 years of my life, and all hoping and praying and God knows what else, and for it to finally come true was an amazing release. Like, it was.
It's definitely up there with the more important things in my life. It's certainly something that I live and breathe it, the whole thing. People ask me whenever I'm around place, who do you support? And I say Cork City. Yeah, but who do you really support? I can't get through to fellas. There's only one team I support. I'm not like 90% of people around Ireland that have another team. There's only one team I support, and that's it, Cork City.
I think the club, it's just there, and it's like I think you need constance in your life, you know, and it's like every weekend checking the City result, whether you be, you know, home or abroad or whatever, is like a constant. And if it was ever taken away from you, it would like be like a chunk of your life would be missing.
You know, I'd often bring people out to the cross night, and I let it speak for itself. You know, and you can't bear it on a Friday night going out there. It's real. You know, you pay your probably go and sit down, and you know the enjoyment. You can't beat it, like, you know.
It's as well, like, it's about who you meet and who you pal around with at the games. I mean, it's a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And I think on, like, last November, it was a chance to be part of something fantastic. I mean, the cross was packed, as we'd love to see it every single day. But like, I was lucky enough to be squeezed into the shed that night, like, and when Flenny scored, something in me, the way we were playing up to that stage, something in me, like, I knew we were going to win.
On a Thursday night, I'm in work every Thursday night, you know, and I'm waiting for the next day to come along. And I'm sure that people are just getting their heads wrapped in work and talking about the following Friday, getting ready to go up to Dundee or Drogheda or go up to Shelbourne or go to Derry. And they're waiting for it all week, and then they want to come to that wait, like, to go to, like, I mean, our bus down left today at 1:45. We met about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then from the whole day of the night it was just like, I can't wait to go up there, like, I can't wait to go up there, match, a couple of pints, enjoy the crack with the lads.
Like, a lot of people who go to see City games don't say it's fantastic, because I think the summer soccer has helped, but the colour, the chanting, the flags, it's fantastic. And at the moment, every time I come down, I have a car full of kids. I can't go with the buddies anymore, and after the game I have go and have a drink, which I was quite regularly doing with a lot of my friends. But I have my own kids now, and they all want to go and neighbours, and they're just sitting over there waving at me. But they're probably 5 or 6 of them come with me, and they love it. They absolutely love it. And what they'll grow up with is the memories, not of the games, because the games kind of pass you by at that age. But I think it's just the occasion, the memory, and that's what we have to build for our generation.
The thing to remember about European trips was that, especially for Cumbrain was the first one a lot of us met, and like all those years on we're all stuck together. But European trips are the bonus of being a fan of Cork City, because City fans, we go out of our way to enjoy ourselves. Win, lose or draw, we will enjoy ourselves. And once people from the opposition understand we're out for a good time, the football is secondary, as long as we can make friends. And basically that's what football is all about. You shake hands with whoever's over, that's it.
Today, Cork City means an awful lot to me. It's passion, it's my hobby. I travel the world with them. If I have the money, I would travel everywhere with them. I travelled everywhere for 2 seasons with them, and the lad said it to me at the end of the season, says, Ian, how many games do you miss the last 2 years? I said, maybe 1 in 2 years. My holidays were based around Cork City Football Club for the last 2 years. And I always said it, I said I got the Cork City FC across my back. And I said if they ever win the league I'll get champions. 83 0 5 on my back, and I got it done straight after they won the league last season.
Well, to tell you the truth, when I went to Cyprus this year, if I had a wish, I wish to relive those 3 days all over again and again. It was that special.
I wouldn't say it means everything, but it means a lot. I've lived abroad. I've lived in New York. I've lived in London. And when I've been abroad, like in New York, I used to get up 10 o'clock in the morning, ring my brother. This game would just be finished into cross. What's the score? Or if I missed that, I'd be online trying to check the results. Getting back here, I'd be tempted to move abroad again. But there's one thing that will keep me here, and that's Cork City.
I turned around to Stephen inside in the shed after we won the league last year, and I said, I had tears in my eyes. I mean, I cried that night, when I think back on it, I cried the year before when we lost out to Shelburne the last year, I thought, we would never win a shout the year before last, if you remember. Yeah. But I cried when we won that league last year, and I turned around to Stephen, I said, don't you ever forget this night. I said, he turned around to me, he said, I won't. I said, because I was 14 years of age, I said, I was Celtic won the league. In this very ground, I said, I was the same age as you. I said, enjoy it, I said. We'll never forget it. He will never forget that, like his memory now of that will be what I had when I was growing up, you can't take that away, I hope he always follows the League of Ireland as much as I have, because you can't beat it, you can't, I used to look forward to Sunday afternoon, watch the matches, and beating the lads in the crack before the game, the crack after the game, and I remember down through the years being inside the pub with Dave Barry and Richardson and Liam Muffin and all, and the banter in the crack, and just I hope he sticks it and has the same memories as I have. You can't replace them.
really, really drunk. The first half kind of lasted about 7.5 minutes. It was one of them things. But anyway, I think people started sobering up, and we figured out we were actually one down. So we better get our act together and, you know, start supporting the team. So some fella started chanting, and I think the chant that came out of his mouth was he wanted to say that Noel O'Mahony was like great and a brilliant manager, and we supported him all the way. But what came out of his mouth was Noel O'Mahony is Noel O'Mahony, like, which made no sense. But it seemed like the perfect thing to chant, like in our drunken state. So the chant of Noel O'Mahony is Noel O'Mahony started, like, you know, coming out, like, from, and like other city fans just joined in, and of course Noel O'Mahony looked around like completely confused and kind of like, all right, like, thanks for the support, like. But for some reason anyway, it spurred him into making a substitution, and like, whatever, they won the game 2-1. They got 2 goals in the last, like, 11 minutes or whatever. So it's like we decided to take credit for the win.
So